everybody, how's it going? It's Jessie from Jessie Marie Does Stuff here on FlossTube. I am coming to you on this Friday, October 17th, 2025 with, I guess we can call it an update video. This is going to be mostly plans. It's going to be mostly plans. And a couple of other sort of little bits thrown in. There are a couple of projects that I will update you on, but it's going to be mostly a plans discussion. And a little talk about a new game that I'm playing. Anyway, before I get into everything, welcome everybody. Welcome to my returning viewers and anybody who is new here. Perhaps you're checking out my channel for the first time. Thank you all so much for spending a little bit of your day with me today. If you are new on this channel, I talk mostly about my cross stitch, though sometimes I'll talk about knitting and books that I'm reading. Today is going to be just stitching because it is Friday, October 17th, and what that means is it's marathon weekend. 24 hours of cross stitch marathon weekend is right now, and I am participating. But I have been trying to sort of get back on the horse, if you will, for want of a better expression, as far as filming goes. I've been wanting to get back into my rhythm, and so I'm taking a little bit of time out of marathon to do that, to jump on here, say hello, and to hopefully get back on some kind of a rhythm. So, we have a couple of administrative things to talk about. Then I am going to show you the two projects that I have to show you today. We'll talk about plans in amongst all of it, and I will briefly tell you about a new game that I'm playing. I think I mentioned that in the intro. And then get you on your way. We're going to keep it simple today. The reason we're keeping it simple is that I think I'll be back probably by Tuesday. Maybe not till Thursday next week. We'll kind of have to wait and see what happens this weekend, etc. Yeah, we'll wait and see on that. But I'm hoping to be back next week. And then very soon here, I'd like to get back into my sort of previously described routine of filming on Tuesdays. But that's neither here nor there. Let's get into things and let's start talking about some administrative stuff. It's been well over a month since I was able to upload a video. And I have also tried to film this so many times. So many times to the point that this is like the third version of what I was going to try to film. So the first couple of tries, I tried to film everything that I had worked on since my last update, and I couldn't do it. I had behind the scenes filming issues. I had a little bit of, I haven't filmed in a long time, rust, and so I was forgetting things and whatnot. So that I had to scrap. I had to say we're gonna not film at all. Then I tried to film a version where I just talked about sort of a truncated list of the things that I had worked on since my last update, and that went to pot. It went terribly. So this version, this is just kind of setting up for the plans that I have coming up here. Everything else that I have worked on, we'll see at some point. That's where I'm at. We'll see it at some point. So we're gonna go with this very brief sort of reintroduction. Get me started again. And we'll go with that. Okay, so in my last update video, we kicked off the third in a series of 12 giveaways that I'm doing. So over the course of 12 updates, I would like to start up a new giveaway. At the beginning of August, I celebrated 12 years here on FlossTube. And so we're doing a series of giveaways. Just wanted to celebrate that, celebrate the milestone of reaching 12 years of talking stitchy stuff with y'all. And so in my last update, we got started with the third one. The winner will receive a $25 gift certificate to the full coverage designer charting company of their choosing, so they can spend it as they will. Before we get to that though, the keyword that we used for that one was pearl, because it sort of harkens back to my first full coverage piece that I ever did, my second cross stitch project that I ever did, and something that I showed in my very first FlossTube video was Mini Pearl, and I had a like facepalm moment. I should have brought her to show you, and I don't know why it didn't occur to me to do that. Somebody very gently asked me to in the comments of that video, and of course that makes total sense. So I did bring her so that I can show her to you. She is framed, and here she is. Gosh, you would think I was a pink person. Looking at this. I'm really not. I'm really not. Yeah, that's interesting. Anyway, so this is Mini Pearl. This is artwork by Rachel Anderson. She has a whole series of birthstone little fairies like this one. And this is the mini version of the pearl, obviously. I started this in, I think, March of 2013 and finished her in summertime, I can't remember when, 2015. And then my husband very sneakily had her framed for me for Christmas one year. I had no idea that he was doing this, and I opened her up and I was totally surprised. He did a really good job, don't you think? He picked all the mats and everything. Pretty impressive. So yeah. So this was my first full coverage piece that I ever started. It is on a 25 count 1/1 full cross. This was my learning piece. So for whatever reason, the HAED charts suggest 2/1 full cross on 25 count for their charts. And I tried that and immediately thought, no, this is not going to work. So I took to, at the time, the HAED forums to try to figure out what I was supposed to be doing. And on there I got a lot of really great advice and really great information about stitching it 1/1, not two-stranded. And then I had to figure out how I like to stitch full coverage. I actually didn't really hone in on my preferred method for stitching full coverage until much later, a very different piece. But I did enjoy stitching this one anyway. No, I can't not see the phallic symbol on this. You lose some detail when you go to a mini, and unfortunately this one gained a new detail. But I still think she's pretty. If you can avoid looking at it, I still think she's very pretty. So that is my Mini Pearl. Bring her in as close as I can, knowing full well that my camera doesn't focus too well. Yeah, so there's Mini Pearl. I'll put her there so that y'all can enjoy her, just sort of peeking up there at the bottom. Yeah, so that was my Mini Pearl. So anyway, thank you all so much for entering the giveaway, and also a huge thank you for your patience waiting for me to come back to announce the winner. So I drew the winner for the giveaway just before trying to film this update video towards the beginning of October, and so special shout out to you who wins this without knowing. Your patience is legendary. Anyway, so the winner for the $25 gift certificate is Little Crafty Bits Tiffany. So I will insert the screenshot here of me drawing that winner. Congratulations, Tiffany. If you could please get in touch with me. You can email me. My email address is in the description box below, or you can send me a DM over on Instagram. And what I need from you is the full coverage charting company that you would like a chart from, and your email address for which to send the $25 gift certificate. So once I have those pieces of information from you, I will get that sent off to you. Congratulations. And be sure to let us know what you put it towards. Yeah, because I'm all about the full coverage right now. As you'll see here in just a little bit, I'm all about it. And I am open to suggestion for starting full coverage right now. Very much open to suggestion. So congratulations, Tiffany, and I look forward to hearing from you. Okay, let's talk about previous giveaway. So in my last update, I announced the 4 winners for the Whip Go Needle Minders. And full disclosure here, I have not shipped them. I am behind on shipping anything. I still have them here. In fact, I have them right here. And part of it is my not filming, and part of it is I haven't heard from my fourth winner. So, Marissa McConnell, I need to hear from you. I need a mailing address. Again, either my email address or Instagram DMs. I will reinsert the screenshot of you winning. So if you could please get in touch with me, I would really like to get those all sent off. In the light of the fact that I have not shipped those out yet, what I would really like to do is postpone our next giveaway for my next update. As mentioned, I may be back as early as Tuesday, if not Thursday next week, and so we can sort of kickstart that all over again. I want to get caught up. I want to clear the plate, so to speak, and handle as much of the giveaways as possible. If I don't hear from Marissa by the time I film next, I will have to regrettably redraw for a new winner. Marissa, get in touch. Otherwise, we're going to pick a new winner in my next update video. And we will kickstart the giveaways again at that point. Before then, I'm going to ship the 3 that I have, get that in the mail, get that going in the system, and hopefully they will arrive before I film next. So if you are waiting, I have not forgotten. I promise it's on the way shortly. Okay, that takes care of our administrative things, and so I think we're going to go ahead and jump in with the stitching. I do have one thing to pull up because I wanted to do September stats. I wanted to talk September stats with you. So I've got the screen pulled up there, so if I'm looking on this side of the screen, you know why. Okay, so I began the month of September with 100 works in progress, 100 whips. For those of you who are paying really close attention, supposedly I should have had 101, and you are correct, I should have had 101. However, I've made the decision over the last several weeks to essentially go back in time and pretend that I never started Greenhouse of Oddities. That is a Lola Crow piece that I started in April. Actually, I did not start it in April on a 46 count, and I want to stitch it on something on a lower count, on bigger stitches. There's enough backstitch in that piece that I think 46 count, it's just too small for me to be stitching that on 46 count. And to this moment, I have not found a replacement that I really like. So I am still in the consideration mode, and it was 6 months ago. So we're just going to pretend I never started that. And so I am down to 100 whips at the start of September. Okay. I had one finish in September, and we will talk about that finish in my next update video. I had no new starts in September, and so therefore I finished the month with 99 works in progress. Just as an aside here, I have also decided to UFO 2 more projects. So currently I'm down to 97 works in progress. My whip list is getting so tiny. Not really. But yeah, so 2 projects I have decided to UFO. One I may restart. I did not love my fabric for it. I have yet to decide if I'm going to restart that. Time will tell. The other, politically speaking, I've got to make decisions, and I can't advertise for this designer. I can't show a piece and talk about how much I enjoy stitching the piece when, politically speaking, I have no wish to advertise for them. So I am UFOing another project. I doubt that I'll ever talk about it again. So there's that. So we're down to 97 works in progress. And it's still a lot. It's still a lot. It's also like, now that I have seen what it feels like to have 100 whips, it makes that less of a wall. The wall has shrunk, and I have no qualms about jumping the wall again. As mentioned, I'm in the mode for full coverage, and I am suggestible. Like, I can be led down the path of starting full coverage right now. I have 2 new starts planned for soon. So anyway, yeah, getting back over 100, honestly, not the wall that it used to be. Okay, back to the stats. In September, I did 20,561 stitches over 30 days. So I had no 0 stitch days, which is great. 13,546 of those stitches were from full coverage projects. And of that 13,546, 7,559 of them came from one project. So nearly a third of my stitches in the month of September went to one project. So that's pretty interesting. I worked on 16 total unique projects in September, 8 of which were full coverage, one of them being the one that saw the most progress in September. I keep track of the full coverage versus non-full coverage stitches. It doesn't really inform anything. It doesn't really help me make decisions about things. I just like to see how I'm spending my time. It might in future help me with planning, but at this point it's really just information. It's really just information. Okay, year to date, I'm up to 161,939 stitches this year, which is pretty good. It is lower on as far as my averages are concerned. It's below my average, but I was sick for the first quarter of the year, so I'm not too bothered by it. And I did 73,598 stitches in full coverage. So we're hanging out at around half. Half of my time is being spent on full coverage so far this year. October, it's going to be different. I expect the numbers to be skewed very heavily towards full coverage for a while here. For a while. So that is it for the stats for September. I know we are more than 2 weeks into October here at this point, but I like talking the stats, and so anyway, that's what we did. Okay, now let's go ahead and start talking about some actual stitching. I will show you some works in progress. And first up, we have Snow Castle. So I'm going to show you where I am at with Snow Castle, and then we can talk about all of the things. Snow Castle is by Heaven and Earth Designs. The artist is Randal Spangler. You'll be seeing a preview here of what this will look like finished. This is a chart that I started in 2017, just before the end of 2017. I think I started this on winter solstice, 2017. And this is my piece that I am using for full coverage WIPGO this year. So the WIPGO numbers I multiply by 100, and I put that number of stitches into Snow Castle here. I am also using this piece for Gridiron Grind. So the Gridiron Grind is a challenge created by Kim Hollenbeck. Her channel will be linked in the description box below. She is Spartan Stitcher over on Instagram, and she is also the one who heads up the Full Coverage Fanatics group on Facebook. So she created this challenge to coincide with, she follows the Detroit Lions, and so she created a Stitchy challenge based on how the Lions do this season. And it's so funny with these games. share them with the world, and we're like, have zero expectations of anybody being interested. And I was like, hand in the air, I'm so excited about this idea, about Kim's idea. And so I jumped in head first. So let me show you the stitching, and then we can talk about all of the things. That way you have something fun to look at, and all of my parked threads. I do park. So I'm stitching, the fabric here is a 25 count easy grid Lugana from Zweigart. I'm stitching this 1/1 full cross with the called for DMCs. I did sub out the black for anchor black, just for information purposes. Now, all of my full coverage pieces are done on 25 count 1/1 at this point. There is one series that I will stitch over 2, but currently in my whip list. Yeah, it's all 25 count 1/1. So my method for stitching these is I do 10 by 10 blocks on the diagonal. I feather into neighboring blocks, and sometimes I feather even further out than that to prevent column lines and page lines. But I like to make my working space as small as possible. So I do stitch a little bit, I suppose you can call it cross country, within the 10 by 10 block. And so yeah, so that's how I stitch full coverage. So my team, I am following the Buffalo Bills. Now, gridiron grind is something that is super customizable. It's super personalizable. I'm not even sure if that's a word, but anyway. So you follow a team. It was originally created with American football in mind, but you could apply this to pretty much any sport. I'm pretty sure you could find a way to make this work for any sport. Football is nice because there are 17 regular season games, as opposed to the 100 and some in baseball, and a lot more than that, or excuse me, a lot more than football in hockey, and yeah. So basketball has a lot of games each season. They have a long season. So football is nice because it's only 17 regular season. So I follow the Buffalo Bills, and what makes this challenge customizable, did I say that right? Customizable? Yeah. Okay. Is you pick the stats that you want to stitch for, you set the stitch counts you want to stitch for, and go from there. So I follow the Buffalo Bills. They are my pro team. There we go. Anyway, so I follow the Buffalo Bills, and so here's what I'm stitching for. I'm stitching 10 stitches for every point we have on the board at the end of each game. I am stitching 1 stitch for every passing yard that whomever our quarterback is for the day. I do 1 stitch per passing yard. And then if Josh Allen, who is our starting quarterback, if he has a rushing touchdown, then I do 170 stitches. And if we have any defensive or special team scores, then I do 250 stitches for that. Okay, so that's what I'm stitching for. So we are currently in the midst of week 7 of the NFL season. Now, fortunately, very fortunately, the Bills are on a bye week. We are coming into this bye week following 2 losses that shouldn't have been. So it's a necessary bye week. Like, I'm super glad that we have this week to regroup and perhaps heal a little bit because we've got some pretty some injuries for some key players. So hopefully we can get some healing this week as we have the off week and whatnot. So anyway, so we're in the midst of week 7. We have finished up week 6, and the Bills are currently 4-2. Sorry, the 2 losses make me a little twitchy. Anyway, before I go off on a tangent and rant about football for an hour, I am doing my stitching, and I am up to date through week 5. I'm still salty and bitter about week 6, and so I have yet to do my 320 stitches for week 6 yet. but I have done exactly the number of stitches required thus far for Gridiron Grind. And I got a page finish out of it, so that's pretty cool. Did that happen here in October, or was that in September? I'm not entirely sure. I think it was. Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, so I finished at page 10 here, so that's pretty exciting. I got that page done, and I have started in on page 11 here. As mentioned, I owe this piece 320 stitches for the Gridiron Grind for week 6, but since we're on a bye week, I have a little bit of extra wiggle room, a little bit of extra time, and we'll talk about this more in plans. But that is where I am now with Snow Castle. I brought my Kindle so that I could give you all some stats. Bear with me for a second. Let me get this one pulled up. I know it's at the top. Okay, so I am now at 66,288 stitches complete of 126,000 stitches total. I am at 52.61% complete, and I still have just 2 colors zeroed out. 2 colors zeroed out. I got another color up in here. The blues are the ones that are my closest to zeroing. I got another one down to less than 5 stitches remaining, but it's not going to zero out this page. I don't think I'm going to get any more zeros on this page. I will get some zeros on page 12 here, so that'll be exciting. That'll be exciting to get to that. So yeah, that's where I am with Snow Castle. And like I said, we'll talk more about that here in just a minute. Every time I have attempted to film an update here, beginning in October, my plans have changed with each iteration of the video. My plans have shifted with each attempt. So at the beginning of October, I was playing a bunch of Stitchy games. Let's see. We had the Great British Cross Stitch Baking Show. That is still ongoing. I was playing Monopoly. I was playing WhipGo. I was also starting to play Survivor Stitchy Game. So Survivor Stitchy Game is by Kate and Julia. They are making things with string here on FlossTube. You should totally go check out their videos, especially where they talk about Survivor, because I think they put together a really great game for it. I have always hesitated with creating a Survivor Stitchy Game because it can be a little bit unpredictable. Season to season, they change some aspects of it. Within the season, sometimes things change. It can get a little complicated. But I think that Kate and Julia came up with a really great version that is playable. And so I started doing that. So I was playing these, and Gridiron Grind. I was playing these 5 Stitchy games. But keep in mind, I had this other idea that has been ping-ponging around in my head for a long time. It's been sort of amorphous, this idea, and in recent weeks, it has become more shaped. I don't know how to describe it, but like it's come down to something. Not even tangible, but something akin to that. Anyway, so I'm playing all of these games, and I can keep up with exactly none of them. I mean, exactly none of them I am keeping up with. The only one that I'm close to keeping up with is Gridiron Grind, and that is solely because at this point, the average week I need to do somewhere between 350 and 500 stitches for that. I had the one outlier at the beginning. It was 1,100 stitches. 2 Josh Allen rushing touchdowns will do that. This Monday night is only 320, so that's an outlier as well on the other spectrum, on the other side of the spectrum. That's the only challenge that I've been able to keep up with, but Monopoly, baking, Survivor, WhipGo, I am behind. I am behind. And this other idea keeps pinballing. I have made the decision to let go, at least temporarily, if not for the season, Survivor and baking. It's a regrettable choice, but I can't do it all. Despite appearances, I can't do it all. I can't do all of this stitching. I want to be able to say I can do all of this stitching, but it's just not reality. It's just not reality. I can't do 1,000 stitches a day. I cannot. So, okay. So I've had this idea pinballing around in my head. We're going to talk briefly about the idea. When I mentioned earlier about these ideas that we think nobody else is going to play, I sincerely don't think anybody else is going to want to do this. And so I'm not going to go into great detail about it as best I can. I have a tendency of, over-explaining. I don't think that anybody's going to want to play this. If on the off chance somebody does, get in touch with me, email or Instagram, and I can share further details. I'm going to work on a write-up for it if there is interest. I seriously doubt it, because I think that WhipGo took off because it is it's malleable. It can be reshaped based on your stitching style. This is less so. This is a little bit more stringent. And it's also super nerdy. It's super nerdy, and I don't even care. I love it. I love this idea. I keep thinking about it. I keep thinking about ways to transform it, to help it evolve. I'm geeked about it. And so if my enthusiasm for this has got your interest piqued, just know that this is not something that's going to be easy to translate to different stitching styles. It's not going to be easy for that. Okay, so let's talk about it. I'm going to tell you where my spheres of influence are from. Okay, it starts with Monopoly. Now, my husband is a hobby board gamer. We've talked about this. He likes to play very complex board games that oftentimes involve learning how to play them by watching somebody on YouTube teach you how to play it. Because reading the rule book, you're not going to be able to grasp it. You need to watch somebody teach you how to play this. Or you need to be in person with somebody to teach you how to play a lot of these games. Okay. When I told him about Monopoly, he quite literally scoffed. He quite literally laughed. Because Monopoly is, for want of a better term, basic. It is fairly basic. And he said, "Well, why don't you pick something else? Why don't you pick one of these other games that we play and turn that into a stitchy game?" And I thought, okay, that sounds great, but nobody else is going to play this because, first of all, I would have to send them on a YouTube video that's 3 hours long so that they could learn how to play the game before they learn how to stitch for the game. There's no way. Not to mention, a lot of these games are fairly pricey. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't translate. So I was like, I'm gonna table that for a think on a different day. So we've got this board game into stitchy game sort of piece. The second piece of influence here comes from Andi the Crow Stitcher. So Crow Stitcher has a game that they are playing that they devised that is it's called Stitch to a Finish, and it's loosely inspired by Dungeons and Dragons, so D&D. And it involves dice rolls and attacks, and you use dice to determine stitch counts, and then they work on the piece and then move on to the next one and roll for initiative and whatnot. So we have that. So the third piece of this is from Siske Stitches. And at the beginning of her channel, towards the beginning of her starting up her channel, she was doing this sort of personal challenge where I think she was stitching towards a new start. And so she would do X number of stitches, color in a bobbin, and once she filled up enough bobbins, then she could have her new start. And so I was sort of inspired by that. The fourth piece of this comes from thinking about my plans for 2026. I always do this every year. I start thinking about next year's plans about 6-7 months in advance. May, June, July. I'm usually the wheels are turning and I'm thinking about things. And one of the things that I was thinking about was these milestones. So especially as full coverage stitchers, if you stitch a full coverage piece, then in order to keep the motivation, in order to keep it going, the milestones are really important. These are long-term projects, some of them years. If it's the only thing you work on and you do a lot, it could still take years. They're big, they're complex. It's a lot of colors, it's a lot of figuring out your method, what have you. The milestones are important. So I'm thinking like every 10,000 stitches, we celebrate that. Percentage milestones, we celebrate that. Page finishes, row finishes, diagonal finishes. We, as full coverage stitchers, like we reach for all of those little stepping stones towards the eventual goal of the finish. And so I have been considering milestones for my 2026 plans and how I want to make that happen. So we take all of these things and we smash them together, stuff them together, and I came up with this game. So for the moment, I'm calling this Milestone Manor because it's fantasy, so we had to get fancy with the title, but it's based on this idea of milestones. Okay, so the basic premise here is what I did. I have a character who walks in the door of my house, Milestone Manor, and in each of the rooms of my house, following the floor plan of my house, there is a monster. And the monster is a full coverage whip that is unfinished. And as I move through the house, fictionally of course, as I move through the house, I unveil what the monster is and I try to attack it. I try to put some stitches into it. And we can expand out that metaphor however far you want to. Anyway, so I walk into a room, I unveil what the monster is, and I roll some dice that give me a stitch count, and I stitch on the piece to that stitch count. Now, the way that I'm doing this is if I do that stitch count and I hit a milestone on the project, and I've got a list of milestones that I'm going with here. If I hit a milestone while doing those stitches, first of all, I do the full stitches. So if it's only 500 stitches to my next milestone, I still do the full 1100 or whatever it is. Okay. So if I get the milestone, then I gain an experience point. And I need experience points. I need to amass experience points to be able to level up. Leveling up means that I have access to more rooms in Milestone Manor. I am following my house's floor plan. So this room here, my office, has one door and it leads out into the foyer. So if I fictionally come into, metaphorically, theoretically, come into my office, then when I leave this door, I'm back in my entryway. I'm back in my foyer. I can't leave this office and end up in the kitchen. I've got to first go into the hallway. So I am using regular movement. My character, if you will, is not teleporting. I'm using regular movement. So the projects that I am unveiling are all full coverage pieces because, as I mentioned, I'm all in for full coverage right now. What I did is I printed off little 1" by 1" covers of my full coverage pieces, cut them out, and handed my husband an envelope for every room in my house except my entryway. So I'm calling my entryway if you open my front door, you're in my entryway. The stairs I'm also counting as my entryway, and my hallway upstairs that branches out into the bedrooms, that is also considered entryway. I chose the piece for that because that is the piece that I want to make the most progress on. So I chose that one because I'm going to have to be bopping into rooms and back into the entryways in order to get to different rooms. Okay, so I handed my husband the 1 by 1 cutouts, and I told him to fill the envelopes of I think it was 18 rooms in total, I think is what it was. I have 20 full coverage pieces on the go, plus I added in a new start as an option. So some of them did not make it into the envelopes. I don't know until my character walks into the room and I unveil it. Okay, so let's get back to if I reach a milestone. So I gain an experience point towards leveling up, which means that once I'm able to level up, I will then have access to more rooms. So currently I only have access to 6 rooms. As I move through the house, I can only go so far as 6 away. I get to choose the direction that I go in. I could go straight upstairs, or I could go around this floor level of my house. I haven't decided yet. Well, I kind of decided. Anyway. Okay, so I get the experience point. Attacking a monster, milestone reached or not, it temporarily knocks them out. So essentially, if you think about it thematically, I throw a punch. Whether it does damage or it doesn't, they reel back a little bit and I run to the next room. Okay. If I do my stitches that I rolled for and I don't reach a milestone, and I'm going to have to be really strict with myself about this because sometimes, you know, you sit down to stitch and you do 2,000 stitches and you feel really, really good about the progress, and then you sit back and you realize you hit 8.99%. I'm going to have to be really particular about not stitching the extra stitches to get to the milestone. I'm going to have to try to stick to my required as best I can. Okay. Anyway, if I do the stitches and I don't reach a milestone by doing those stitches, then I take a damage. And we can talk about it here in a minute. If I max out my damage, so if I lose all of my health points, then my XP is wiped back down to the starting line, and I have to go back to my front door. If you think about it thematically, in a video game, sometimes if your character dies, if your character loses all of their health, then sometimes you can reset back to the last place you saved. So that's what we're going to do here. I'm going to blip back to my entryway and we'll start the process all over again. So I hope that explains where my thinking is going and why I don't think this is going to be a whip go that just takes off, because it's not as customizable to a degree. Yeah, it would be complicated to try to shrink this down or even expand it. It would be really hard to shrink it down. So anyway, so that is Milestone Manor. And so far, I'm obsessed. So far, I am having too much fun with this. So far, I really, really enjoy this. And it is letting me nerd a little bit. And it was kind of cool because my husband is helping me develop it, helping me work through the details, making sure that it scales appropriately. He's sort of helping me fine-tune things, which is cool. It's pretty cool to get him involved. Okay, so let's talk about the first project I have worked on for Milestone Manor. And yeah, so let's get to it. My entryway piece is my oldest full coverage. This is a project that I would like to make really significant progress on in 2026. I am toying with the idea of aiming for 10-page finishes in 2026. So this is my entryway piece. This is my piece that I'm going to work on every time I got to step in a hallway. So let me go ahead and show it to you. This is April by Anna Dittman, charted by Heaven and Earth Designs. I started this in April of 2016. So that's where the 10 comes from. Next year it will be 10 years old. So here is where we are. This is on a 25 count antique white Lugano from Zweigart. It's not pre-gridded and it never was. I started this before that was a really common thing. So yeah, it's on the ungridded. But with the way that I stitch, I don't really need the gridding. The gridding helps me park a little bit further. This I would have to count. And I don't trust myself to count to 10 enough times to park very far away. So, so I stay generally pretty close. So, as mentioned, this was my entryway piece, and I rolled my dice. We do have some fancy D&D dice, and I didn't know this. I didn't know we had them. I was really grateful to find them. There is something about rolling tangible dice as opposed to rolling digital. Yeah, I really enjoy like it's sort of like flipping the pages of a book is a different experience than reading a Kindle ebook, you know. So the stitches required for my first go at Milestone Manor was 1,050 stitches, and I did indeed do my 1,050. I ended up going a little bit over just to finish the block, but I had reached a milestone well before that point. So after I think I did like 1068, just very slightly over the 1050. So after my stitches for Milestone Manor, I reached 40,233 stitches. So I hit 40K, which is really cool. Like that's a cool milestone. So I hit 40,233 stitches of 156,150 in this whole piece, and so I'm at 25.77%. I had hit the 25% in a previous stitching session, so that did not qualify for a second XP. I have decided that if I stitch, if I do my stitches and I hit more than one XP, then more than one milestone, every milestone counts as an experience point. Yeah. So anyway, 25.77% now. Very, very cool. So we're going to see this project a lot. Like I said, anytime I step into a hallway or go on the stairs, I will work on this one. Now, these monsters have a hit point of equivalent to the number of years since I started it, pretending like it's 2026. So for instance, April here has 10 hit points. And so once I hit 10, then I am supposed to retire this, and my husband is supposed to pick a new one from the extras envelope. However, this one will always be my entryway piece, however long I end up playing this, because I want to make significant progress on it next year. So anyway, there's that. I really enjoyed working on this one. I always love working on this piece. This one is meditative. The colors are so soothing. I have not quite hit the right edge of the page yet, and I certainly haven't hit the bottom yet, but that's okay. We will eventually. Okay, so let me show you. I printed out a very basic level character sheet that I'm gonna have to tweak as I work through this. but we have XP over here. So my current hit points is 6, which means that I need my current hit points plus 1 to level up. And then when I get to the level up stage, I can maybe talk about the details that I have kind of worked out for leveling up. So I color this in when I do it. And so April by Heaven and Earth Designs, I hit 40K on October 14th. And then when I stitch on a monster and I don't hit a milestone, I will color in these drops. So anyway, thank you for indulging me as I nerd for a little bit. After I finished the stitching there, I decided to go into the playroom. So I'm going to make that loop around. And so if you are standing just inside my front door, to the left is what we call the playroom. It's kind of a combination like sitting room, playroom, stitch space. So I call it the playroom. Went in there, opened up my envelope on Tuesday night, and in there was quick stitch day and night. So I rolled my dice and I needed 1,150 stitches for this one. I am not quite done my 1,150. As of this morning, I needed 312 stitches. I did 279. So I'm 33 stitches away. But I wasn't able to get it all accomplished this morning. So I will do that as soon as I'm finished up here. I did not bring that to show you this time, but I'll show that in my next update. So where do we go from there? What's the plan? What's the plan here? As mentioned, it is 24 hours of cross stitch marathon weekend. What am I doing for that? And the answer is complicated. It's complicated because Milestone Manor, I want to keep working on this, and I want to see how it's going to work out. I want to work through any kinks that pop up. I want to see what's in the next room. Like I'm really excited about this. So I'm really excited about the idea. However, I have 2 other things that I am thinking of. One of those is Snow Castle. As mentioned, Snow Castle is my gridiron grind piece. I still have week 6 to stitch for, and then the bills are on a bye week this week, so I have up to a week and a half to be caught up on that. But there's some other aspect of Snow Castle that I am way far behind on, and that is WhipGo. So let me show you this. This is a map, and it essentially shows me where I need to get to for each WhipGo call. So this way up here is September. Yep, I haven't accomplished September yet. And then this one down here is October. This is where I need to get to for October. And so I thought, it being the bye week for the bills, I could potentially, as one of my considerations for 24 Hours of Cross Stitch Marathon Weekend, just go ham and see how much Snow Castle I could accomplish this weekend. So that's a consideration. So we have Milestone Manor, we have Snow Castle. This is a piece that I very much enjoy spending a good amount of time on. It might be fun to do that. Okay, we have a third thing up for consideration, and that is Monopoly. I am still trying to play Monopoly. Now, I have potentially let baking go. I have potentially let Survivor go. Monopoly, I am behind on still, but I'm sticking with it because Jenn has already said, Jenn the Caffeinated Crafter, has already said that she is closing Monopoly at the end of the year. And it could even be sooner than that. She could make the decision that she doesn't want to do Monopoly anymore, and that's totally cool. I would like to see Monopoly through as long as I can. Just to finish this one up. Plus, every time I bring up Monopoly, my husband twitches a little bit. I find that amusing. So anyway, I enjoy the Monopoly game. I look forward to Jenn's segments on it every week, or every week that she releases a new round. Yeah, I like this. So I want to continue with this. So I keep looking over here because my board is right there. So let me pull that over here so that you can see this. And you can see what I have to catch up on. So this is my little board for Monopoly. Jenn, the Caffeinated Crafter, has a game of Monopoly that she's playing with 4 tokens. She set the stitch counts and the rules and all that. I set my projects, and whatever her tokens do in the game, I stitch on the respective projects based on what they do. So I have a full coverage project assigned to the corners, and then I have something from my whips assigned to each of the sides of a Monopoly board. So summer montage here is my corners piece. Now you'll see this number along the side here, and that is stitches remaining to my threshold. This corners piece, the threshold is the page finish. So I'm gonna far surpass the threshold for everything else. I will far surpass that to get the page finish, but that's okay. The rest of them, the threshold is 2,500 stitches, and then I swap for a different project. So corners is summer montage. That is Janet Stever Pain-Free Crafts out of print. That was retired at the end of August, so that's that one. But I'm going to be flashing up covers previews here so that you can see what these projects are. Side 1 is Beach Rat, and that is a recent replacement that you all voted for. So Beach Rat is by the Artsy Housewife. Next we have Side 2, which is a new development that is Move Forward in Love, and that is by Modern Folk Embroidery. It's the Pride Sal from 2021 or 22. I can't remember which year it was, but that is the Pride Sal. And again, you all voted for that. The results were from my last update. Side 3 is currently Within a Dream. Okay, but you can see here this little plus 400. That's what I owe this project for round 24, and that will finish it up. So when I wasn't filming, I needed to figure out what my replacement was going to be for that. So I let Instagram decide through my Instagram stories in a voting poll over there. And Gaia by Bella Filipina won out against a full coverage piece, Dark Waters by Jessica Elaine. So Gaia, as you can see, is owed 300 stitches as well. And then my side 4 piece is Beauty and the Beast by Donna Stitch. Okay, so in these little corners here, we have the plus. That's for round 24. And then in the parentheses, there, you see what I owe for round 25. She released round 25 this past Sunday, so almost a week ago. And generally speaking, it's about 2 weeks in between each round. So I've got a lot of catch up to do. Summer montage here. That's the interesting one. With 1,000 stitches, I'm gonna complete that page. And then some. I will go over the page in order to finish out that 1,000 stitches. So it is just about time to pick a new project to replace that. We are actually going to do that in my next update video because this video has gone twice as long as I thought it would. So we'll do that in my next update video where I will pull 2 potential replacements and I'll let y'all vote. And Move Forward in Love here is owed 1,100 stitches, as you can see. Whee! That one's gonna get that one close to the threshold already. Within 800 stitches. That's pretty funny. So that is Monopoly. So those are my 3 things that I'm considering for marathon weekend. Truth be told, as mentioned, I'm in the mood for full coverage, and so I might go for that summer montage. I might go for that page finish. That might be pretty fun. It won't work for Milestone Manor because I don't know if summer montage is in is on my current map, if I have access to it yet. And I'm going to do my best to keep the stitches separate. Pretty interesting, and things for me to consider. I've got to make a decision because it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I need to get to stitching. It's marathon weekend. I need to be stitching. So I've got the 30 some odd stitches to do on quick stitch day and night, and then I can kind of make a decision. I might even switch to Snow Castle temporarily so that I can do my gridiron grind for week 6 while I'm still trying to decide. So we'll see. I'm going to be updating my 24 hours of cross stitch progress on Instagram stories. So head on over to my Instagram. I am Jessie Does Stuff there if you want to follow along with my progress. So yeah, and hopefully I can get to stitching, by 3? Nope, not gonna happen. Not with how long this video is. Yeah, so hopefully I can get back to stitching soon and get marathon going. If you are doing stitching marathon this weekend, what are you doing? What's your plan? Feel free to let me know in the comments. Okay, I think that's everything. I have some other things sort of waiting in the wings that I need to talk to you about, but I'm going to save those for my next update. As I said, Tuesday, Thursday, kind of wait and see when that is. We'll talk about all of this stuff then. But right now, I got to get back to stitching. So I am going to head off here. If watching this, you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the description, or not in the description box. You probably want to refer your questions to the comments. That would be where you ask your questions if you have them. I'll either get back to you in the comments or we can talk about them in my next update video. As always, I appreciate you. I appreciate you for spending time with me and for your comments and for your continued support of me and my channel. I can't do this for 12 plus years without you all. So thank you very much for that. So I'm gonna head off. I'm gonna edit this thing, get it posted. I can't believe it. I think we made it to the end. Oh my goodness, so exciting. I hope that you're well. I hope that you're stitching. As always, be kind, and I will see you in the next one. Take care, everybody.